This is Texas News Now, sponsored by Germania Insurance.
In Austin, I'm Mark Mullins. Because of the possibility for winter weather, the agency that manages the power grid that covers most of Texas, ERCOT, issued a weather watch. It runs Saturday through Tuesday. They're not calling for anyone to conserve power, and they do expect to be able to meet demand. KVUE's Daniel Perot takes a look at how state leaders say they've improved grid reliability.
A blast of frigid air and chance for snow and ice causes flashbacks. February 2021. Snow and ice fell, the temperatures plunged, the power went out for millions for days. But this time, experts say the grid is better prepared.
ERCOT is projecting a very healthy supply buffer, which is a good sign.
Since then, the state has done a lot to add more capacity to the grid to make it more reliant during periods of high demand.
We have a lot more generation on the system and a huge amount of battery storage that simply didn't exist back then, on the order of 17,000 megawatts.
Since 2021, experts say that Texas has shifted its approach to the grid from reactive to more proactive for things like extreme cold, requiring facilities to weatherize their equipment. ERCOT says it has conducted thousands of inspections to ensure compliance with those rules. They've also added an extra source of fuel on site for generators if there's a natural gas scarcity.
We're in a position of, we see the risk coming, and here's how we reduce the risk before it turns into an emergency.
Last year, state lawmakers passed and Governor Abbott signed Senate Bill 6, which increases state oversight of the largest energy users, allowing it to cut power to large consumers in emergencies.
SB 6 makes sure that the biggest power users are part of the reliability solution and they're not a blind spot.
So energy experts say they don't expect to see any power grid issues this week.
Today it's much more resilient, even if the weather is unpredictable.
In Austin, Daniel Perot, KVUE News.
As we have reported, Governor Greg Abbott is activating state emergency resources to prepare for this weekend's winter weather threat. More than a dozen state agencies are preparing, from TxDOT to the Texas A&M Forest Service to the Wildlife Department to the National Guard. We spoke with officials who say crews will be out pre-treating roadways and monitoring power outages, among other duties. But we're also told there are things Texans should be doing to stay prepared as well.
We're doing what we can and what we need to do. We also need Texans to do their part. That includes making sure you have a plan, making sure you have those emergency supplies readily available, and also just staying informed, keeping up to date with the local forecast.
Texans are urged to stay weather aware and check road conditions before traveling. Ahead of the cold snap, Austin Pets Alive says it's in need of fosters to take in 75 animals. KVUE's Brianna Perez explains how the shelter is preparing and how residents can help.
With an Arctic chill on the way, Austin Pets Alive is scrambling to place animals in temporary foster homes so they can ride out the cold front in warmth.
We can get those dogs into homes where they can be warm during the day and they can be taken out for very short walks. That's going to improve their quality of life immediately.
Susie Chase with Austin Pets Alive says while the shelter has working heaters in every kennel building, these kennels at the Town Lake Shelter are open air so they can be drafty. And keeping pets in a smaller indoor room can be tough on bigger dogs.
It also means that we don't have a lot of places for the animals to move around during the day like we would during normal temperatures.
Since the February winter storm in 2021, officials say they have upgraded their 70-year-old building with different features like tarps and heating. Still, they say fosters are essential.
Sit. Good boy.
That's why Naomi Phelps says she decided to get involved in foster for the first time.
I just love animals in general, and I just can't wait to get to know another one.
Phelps says she heard about the urgent need for fosters this week and felt it was important to step up.
It's important to us because we're huge animal lovers, and we just know that they're at overcapacity right now, so we really want to just help out and support our community.
She says currently they are in need of large crates, dog chews, toys, and baby gates to keep those staying more comfortable. Austin Pets Alive is taking fosters until Friday. To learn more, you can head to KVUE.com. In downtown Austin, Brianna Perez, KVUE News.
Well, the Texas DMV is getting pushback over its new proposed rules that involve tightening ID requirements when getting vehicle registration and renewals. The move is putting immigration front and center, and the department gave people the opportunity to voice their thoughts. KVUE's Kelsey Sanchez has their message.
I think the new rules have unintended consequences that go far beyond creating a safe place in Texas.
The state of Texas will lose money.
A lot of concern and worry pouring out of the Texas DMV headquarters Wednesday morning, where many spoke before the board about proposed new rules surrounding vehicle registrations and renewals.
We are in very dark times right now when it comes to government and interacting with the public.
A policy went into effect last November requiring people to show proof of legal status in order to get their vehicle registered. On top of that, people will also have to show a valid state driver's license and either a U.S. passport or foreign passport that isn't expired. A change pushed by Texas Representative Brian Harrison.
I'm very proud to have single-handedly enacted the most consequential conservative victory for border security here in the state of Texas.
Among the speakers were people representing small businesses, dealerships, and tax assessor collectors, all saying the rules will harm Texas businesses, lead to more uninsured vehicles, and force people to find illegal ways to obtain a registration.
What's happening today is a reaction to a far-right political perspective that is disconnected from everyday Texans who are just trying to get into their truck and go to the job site and get work done, take care of their families, contribute to the economy.
It's to the point to where if this continues, I honestly don't know how much longer our business of 30 plus years can stay in business.
The Texas DMV board plans to address all these concerns at its next board meeting next month, but Harrison says he's not concerned and also has plans to codify the change into statute.
The fact that I have forced through a policy change to where the Texas government is no longer going to be just handing out vehicle registrations to illegal aliens. If some people are inconvenienced by that, I'm sorry, that's what winning looks like, and I'm proud to have forced this policy change through.
Until then, the fight for these folks isn't over. In Austin, Kelsey Sanchez, KVUE News.
UT Austin is restructuring its provost's office. No details have been released about any staff reductions. Those changes impact 4 support units, including the Center for Teaching and Learning, the Office of Community Engagement, the VIC Advising Excellence Center, and the Office of Undergraduate Research. UT officials confirmed those 4 departments will cease operating as separate entities by the end of spring semester. UT leaders say the services will not disappear. Instead, they'll be absorbed by the individual colleges and schools that house similar functions. And they do want to emphasize the move is meant to reallocate resources where they are most effective for undergraduate teaching and learning. And those are the headlines in Austin. I'm Mark Mullins.
I'm Chris Lawrence with their headlines from North Texas. A lot of people here are adjusting their travel plans right now. Kevin Reese spoke with state transportation leaders about preparing the roads ahead of the Arctic blast.
The brine trucks began crisscrossing North Texas early Wednesday morning, a full 2 days in advance of any forecast ice or snow. But with 6,000 lane miles to cover, TxDOT says that spreading the water and salt solution has to begin now.
So we're going to be doing that. And what that will do is when any initial ice starts to happen, that's going to give us a little bit of an edge over it.
TxDOT crews are already on 12-hour shifts.
With the event coming, we're all hands on deck.
Same at the North Texas Tollway Authority, where the Safety Operations Center is staffed 24/7 and where treatment of its 33-mile stretch is underway too.
The real workhorses are the people out there with those snow and ice trucks that are putting out that ice melt, plowing the stuff out of the way to try to keep the roads open.
And if you need another tried and true sign of the bad weather forecast to be on the way, the Costco in North Dallas at 75 and Churchill Way. Shoppers jockeying for very few open parking spaces, shopping carts filled with last-minute supplies, and a long wait at the Costco gas pumps. As for roads and highways, this advice from TxDOT.
Now's the time for drivers to look at their plans and realize if they don't have to be out once this storm hits, maybe it is better to stay at home where it is safe.
And give the road crews as much room as you can as they try to make the roads as safe as possible. In Dallas, I'm Kevin Reese.
Officials are doing all they can to make sure the weather doesn't put a damper on the Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo. Adriana de Alba shows us how they're working to keep everyone safe.
This is a rodeo that does not back down from the weather. Throughout its history, the Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo has weathered plenty of winter storms, and the show still goes on. In fact, it's only been canceled twice, during World War II and the pandemic.
Not equipped to forecast the weather, so keep this in mind.
With winter weather in the forecast this weekend, organizers say they're ready.
You got to be prepared for whatever Mother Nature brings you.
Behind the scenes, crews are stocking up and preparing the grounds.
We plan ahead for that, store loads of sand, loads of salt, in the event that we do have inclement weather.
Safety for both people and animals is the priority.
Yes, making things as safe as possible for our guests. We're prepared and ready to roll.
For ranchers like Michael England, preparation at home can mean everything.
To me, that's got to be the worst, is not preparing pipes and getting ready for that, because first off, the animals need a constant supply of water. And it's just miserable trying to fix it while it's cold.
Still, many are willing to ride it out.
We're already here, and who knows, maybe we'll get out of here before the actual weather hits.
Back at the rodeo grounds, the message is clear.
We're still going to have a good time. We don't cancel because of adverse weather.
In Fort Worth, I'm Adriana de Alba.
Families got a chance to address Salina ISD officials for the first time since seeing the results of an investigation into former coach Caleb Elliott. As Luke Clary reports, some parents are calling for the school board to resign.
Y'all have dropped the ball. Huge. All over the place.
Anger boiling over at Salina ISD. Some parents calling for members of the board to resign.
When I see so many flagrant violations of just ethical conduct.
Their anger aimed at administrators as a former Moore Middle School teacher and coach, Caleb Elliott, faces charges related to invasive recording, sexual exploitation, and child pornography. This is the first meeting since an independent investigative report was released Friday night. It shed new light on how now retired coach Bill Elliott, Caleb's father, exerted his influence to get his son hired.
Bill should have never been allowed to resign. Bill should have been fired.
Chris Caldwell has two sons at Moore Middle School. Explaining all this to them has been hard.
What is that conversation like with your kids as a parent?
They lose trust in the adults that they're supposed to trust, and it's very hard to explain.
How do you do that?
Just tell them you got their back, and you'll protect them.
The report said no Salina ISD employee knew of Caleb's alleged misconduct before his arrest. Some parents raised concerns that the report was so heavily redacted, calling for more transparency and for more leaders to take responsibility. In Salina, I'm Luke Clary.
The Dallas County Commissioners revisited a 70-year-old murder case because they now believe authorities executed an innocent man. Tommy Lee Walker maintained his innocence right up until he was put to death in the electric chair. And the son, who never got to meet him, told Brittany Moncrief this is a moment he's waiting for.
In this Dallas County courtroom, 1954, 19-year-old Tommy Lee Walker was convicted of the rape and murder of Venice Parker, a white woman. With crowds gathered, Walker awaited his fate. And now 70 years later, just feet away from where he sat,
to see that justice is done,
his son, Edward Lee Smith, still waits.
Growing up without a father, this was hard for me.
Because Edward was born just hours after Venice was murdered near Love Field. A Dallas police officer claimed Venice said a black man was the attacker. And after Tommy Lee was arrested months later, it took an all-white jury less than 2 hours to convict him.
She said, "Baby, they give your father the electric chair."
Tommy Lee was executed in 1956.
I had to go without a father. 70-some years.
70 years, still fighting for his father's innocence. Journalist Mary Mapes wrote about Tommy's case gaining the attention of the Innocence Project and the Civil Rights and Restorative Justice Project. They say one of the officers involved was a known Ku Klux Klan member. They also say officers arrested Tommy without probable cause, suppressed evidence, and used interrogation techniques that led to a false confession, which Tommy later recanted.
I feel that I have been
tricked out of my life.
Dallas County Criminal District Attorney John Crezeau argued before county commissioners that Tommy was wrongfully convicted. And in a unanimous decision,
the Dallas County Commissioners Court does hereby formally recognize and declare that Tommy Lee Walker was wrongfully convicted and executed.
I mean, he knew his father was innocent, but now it's public. That stain has gone away.
And also celebrating in the courtroom,
Try not to make the same mistake again.
was Venice's son, Joseph Parker.
This is my new friend.
I was talking about you.
Though both lost parents tragically, it's justice that brought them together.
Love everybody. In spite of what happened to my father, I still love people.
In Dallas, I'm Brittany Moncrief.
Showing grace in a heartbreaking situation. And those are your headlines from North Texas.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at yourmediainsurance.com.
I'm Bill Taylor with Texas News Now Weather. I want to start with the state of Texas because I'll tell you what, Thursday, Friday are the prep days for what's going to happen this weekend. Once we get into Saturday, you're not going to want to leave the house until probably Monday or Tuesday. I mean, look at the temperature differences. We're seeing 70s, even almost 80 at Corpus Christi, 82 down at McAllen, but then even 84 at McAllen on Friday, 80 on Saturday for that matter. But the wheels really come off in some of these cities. Look at Dallas down to 28 for a Saturday high, 24 on Sunday afternoon. I mean, this is bitterly cold. And remember, this is the precip weekend where we're going to see ice across North Texas. Could see accumulations of up to an inch of ice. And that is going to make for a major impact, significant problems across North Texas as we expect power outages. So this again, Thursday and a good part of Friday, prepare for the weekend ahead. Make sure that you're gassed up and stocked up to be indoors all weekend, taking care of people, pets, plants, and pipes. Please keep in mind, people, you know there's nearly 500,000 Texans living with Alzheimer's or another form of dementia. It is so important that we make sure they're taken care of in this because of their impaired judgment and, of course, their difficulty in communicating discomfort. So make sure you're checking on them this upcoming weekend. I want to show you something, the wind chill. You know, what the impact is to your body. These temperatures are going to be bad enough, but we're going to be into some single-digit wind chills for most of the state of Texas. Our bodies lose heat through convection. So once you start losing that heat, and remember, that's why it's so important to wear a hat. That can reduce, again, some of that impact of cold greatly. But once that cold wind hits you, it's windy, and that moving air breaks up the insulating warm layer. And so 20 degrees with the right wind can feel like 4 if that wind's moving at 40 miles per hour. And in some cases, it will be over this weekend. So it's not just this Arctic blast of temperatures. When you combine it with the wind that'll be produced with this cold front and this upper level feature from the west, we're going to really have some dangerous wind chills on our hands too. So the cold air comes in, this shallow layer of cold will be at the surface for this upper level low to move the moisture in and right on top of Texas. So you can see just by the way how widespread it's going to be. This will be a major winter storm for several cities across the United States. And it's a very slow moving storm at that. All right, let's take a look at future radar. Wednesday at 5 p.m. and you can see mostly East Texas and Louisiana. Thursday afternoon looks really nice. Lots of sunshine across South Texas, East Texas, a little more cloudy across north and western communities. Now let's move into the precipitation. This is Friday morning where it's all liquid and it's fairly light to moderate on intensity. Then it picks up a little bit more by Friday evening, and by 8 p.m. could start seeing some of it change over to sleet for Dallas-Fort Worth, as well as West Texas, Lubbock, and even Amarillo. Now we're seeing a lot more coverage. As we get into Saturday morning, notice that the sleet and freezing rain line goes from San Angelo through DFW. It stays liquid with a good cold rain across south central Texas, but the frozen precipitation is going to be taking up a lot of counties for quite a while, because we even move into the 9 a.m. hour and it's still coming down across most of North Texas. In fact, some pockets of heavy, intense sleet coming down, and the coverage area just expands. We start dropping it into the Texas Hill Country by Saturday night and then into San Antonio overnight into Sunday morning. So it's really going to be the temperature difference. And then you also notice the amount of snow is really increasing across West Texas, pushing into North Texas by midday Sunday. And at the latest, we get this moisture out by what I would think about mid-morning on Sunday. I think that's going to be the earliest on getting some of this moisture out of the way. So this is a weather impact alert for every single community in the state of Texas as this major winter storm heads in our direction. Please prepare and please take care of each other moving forward.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at germaniainsurance.com.
Let's take a look at today's headlines from Houston. Hello, I'm Len Cannon. The city of Houston says it is asking people to get their homes ready before that winter storm arrives over the weekend. Mayor Whitmire says it'll be all hands on deck. Troy Kless with City Preps.
At Houston City Council, the city's emergency management director making the timeline clear.
My recommendation to people is prepare your homes now, wrap all your exterior pipes. Get prepared at home now, go to the grocery store.
The city will be opening 12 warming shelters, such as the Fondy Recreation Center just outside of downtown. Mayor John Whitmire says the city is finalizing plans to get homeless off of the streets.
All kinds of plans, Metro, to get them to the warming centers, out of the dangerous temperatures.
Roads, one of the top concerns from Houston Public Works. Bridges and overpasses susceptible to freezing will be treated 24 hours in advance of the storm. If you don't need to be out, the city says to stay off of the roads.
We pre-treat all 41 of those areas with a brine solution. We have available to us 15 trucks that we use to spread sand in certain places. We have 7 brine applicator apparatuses that we're able to affix.
The city is not anticipating widespread power outages, but they say if ice accumulates on transmission lines coming into Houston, it may be difficult to get power to the city.
It's going to be bone-chilling cold.
There you have it. And if you're flying out of Texas or other parts of the South over the weekend, airlines getting ready for the bad weather by waiving those flight change fees. Sherman Tao breaking down what you need to know.
Good news for flyers and for airlines too, trying to reduce the travel load on bad weather days. So for those flying between January 23rd and 25th, Friday through Sunday, take a look. Here are some of the basics. United has earmarked 26 airports across the South, from Texas and Louisiana to Kansas, Oklahoma, Alabama, and beyond. You can check that list on the United website. If you bought your ticket before yesterday, January the 20th, you can reschedule without a change fee and fare differences. You must travel before January 29th or a week from Thursday. As for American Airlines, it has flagged 34 airports, also waiving change fees. Your travel cities must remain the same, and you must have purchased your ticket before Sunday the 19th. And Delta Airlines has marked 41 airports. You must rebook before the 28th, a week from today. The fare difference is waived for the same type of seat, or you can cancel and apply the money to a new ticket for 1 year from the original issuing date. Now, Southwest Airlines does not charge change fees. And as I said, all of this really the basics. Each airline does have some more fine print associated with the waived fees for tickets this weekend. So as always, check your airline and your specific ticket. We do have all of this information right now at KHOU.com.
Charmin, thank you. 2 Harris County Sheriff's deputies being hailed after rushing to rescue a man from a burning car. That car was hit by a wrong-way driver last weekend. Body cam video now shows the moments and the quick action that saved his life. Tracy Bragg with the story.
Huge flames and firework like blast.
I just saw this vehicle on fire, and my number one, thought that came to mind was, I hope nobody's in there.
There's somebody in the front seat. And a man trapped, desperately clinging to life.
Half of his body had been burnt.
Harris County Deputy John Sizdek and Sergeant Jonathan Turk tell me this was the scene along the Tom Ball Parkway early Saturday morning after a wrong-way driver slammed into this vehicle along the southbound lanes.
The fire just kept getting bigger and bigger.
Thankfully, Sizdek and Turk were 2 of the first on the scene. Their body cameras show them springing into action.
I was trying with all my strength to get that door open. It wouldn't budge. So, the second option was to get him out through the window, and that's what we did.
Turning into real-life heroes, the type that don't wear capes.
I've had the opportunity through my career choice as a deputy to save a life.
They say that driver remains in the hospital in critical but stable condition. As for the wrong-way driver, I'm told he was killed in the crash. Tracy Bragg, KHOU 11 News.
Now to a warning about a growing form of identity theft. Thieves hacking into your phone without even touching it. Joe Mercedes shows us how it's done and what you need to know to protect your money and your identity.
It was a beautiful day. I never dreamed that I would have my things stolen.
It was November here at Millie Bush Bark Park. Marsha Johnson says she met a friend who brought her a sympathy gift after the loss of her dog, Angel.
It's a figure of a Chesapeake Bay Retriever, and it's got angel wings on it.
When they walked back to her SUV,
he said, "Where's your window?" And I looked, and it was completely smashed in.
Her purse was gone, along with her wallet.
That leaves you feeling very exposed to know that somebody who's a criminal has that material.
Harris County Precinct 5 constables say the break-in was just the beginning. In the days that followed, they say there were repeated attempts to try to take over Johnson's cell phone number through a crime known as SIM swapping.
And multiple times a day, they would go to different carriers or electronically contact carriers and lie to them about who they were.
Precinct 5 constables shared this surveillance video of this woman who they say spent several hours inside a local T-Mobile store trying to get employees to complete a SIM swap using Johnson's stolen identity. Tech expert Michael Garfield explains how it works and how dangerous that can be.
Potentially intercept your phone calls, your text, and most importantly, that two-factor authentication code that can access your bank, your email, and all the sensitive account information.
How do you protect yourself against these criminals?
If you get a text that it allegedly is coming from your carrier that says, "We understand you're trying to authorize a new account on your cell phone account," and you didn't authorize that, that's telltale sign number one. So number one, you need to immediately either walk into a store, log into online to your account, and make sure that no one is authorizing that.
They were relentless in pursuing this.
Have they stopped?
A little after Christmas, they were still trying.
Johnson says the fear still hasn't faded.
It's a nightmare. You live with anxiety, and you're constantly getting messages that there's a threat to your privacy.
Precinct 5 constables say they arrested that woman you saw there in the surveillance video after a Crime Stoppers tip. They discovered she had a felony warrant in another county. Authorities say she is not cooperating with investigators in the fraud case.
Joe Mercedes, thank you. That's a wrap of your Houston headlines. I'm Len Cannon.
Hi, I'm Brennan Gurley, and here's what's making headlines across East Texas. With the potential winter weather approaching, power companies here in East Texas are shifting into prep mode. Oncor says it's ready to respond if conditions cause outages, and officials are also sharing steps residents should take now. Here's CBS 19's Ayanna Aird.
Oncor is already preparing for storm readiness operations and possible service impacts while also monitoring the forecast for possible winter weather this weekend. The company says crews and resources are being positioned where needed. They're adding more working crews and staging extra equipment and materials, including transformers and protective devices. Oncor says crews have been preparing year-round by trimming trees and making sure trucks are fitted with chains, ice cleats, and protective gear. The company also has mutual aid agreements in place with other utilities if additional help is needed.
We're not sure how much this is going to impact our system yet. We won't know till it gets here and we know exactly what we're dealing with. All I can tell everybody out there is that we are going to be working nonstop. If your power goes out, then we're going to do everything we can to get your power back on as quickly and safely as we possibly can.
We just spoke with SWEPCO as well. They tell us they're taking similar precautions ahead of this weekend with preparations they've made year-round. Officials are urging residents to prepare now by putting together storm kits and making sure phones and devices are fully charged. They also recommend protecting plants, pets, and pipes. They also say it's important to stay off of the roads if conditions become icy and to stay away from down power lines. If you see a down power line, stay back and call 911. For CBS 19, I'm Ayanna Aird.
Meanwhile, the East Texas Food Bank received a large food donation to support hunger relief efforts across East Texas. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Utah donated 42,000 pounds. The donation will be distributed through more than 20 pantries across 26 counties. The donation is part of the church's global initiative to help people facing food insecurity and address critical hunger. Over the past 5 years, the church has donated more than 350,000 pounds of food in East Texas. According to the East Texas Food Bank, 1 in 5 East Texans is considered food insecure. This latest donation alone will provide the equivalent of 35,000 meals.
And now with the winter storms looking like, all the cities could be shut down for a few days. We encourage everybody to they can go to our website, easttexasfoodbank.org.
The church is able to send out trucks all over the country. And we're just lucky enough to receive one of those at this time, really for the East Texas community. And it's exciting because we as members and neighbors love one another, and to be able to have this volume of food be represented by the church is such an honor.
A Cherokee County constable is on trial this week, accused of using his patrol vehicle to seriously injure another man during a 2021 police chase. Testimony began Tuesday afternoon in the 2nd District Court. Prosecutors allege Bean acted recklessly, causing serious bodily injury, and that his vehicle was used as a deadly weapon. A grand jury later handed up the indictment. Jurors have already heard from multiple law enforcement witnesses, including Texas DPS and the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office. The jury has also seen body camera footage from a former sheriff's deputy that captures the moments surrounding the alleged incident. Bean has served as Precinct 4 constable since 2009. And that's a wrap of your East Texas headlines. I'm Brennan Gurley.
Here are your headlines from Southeast Texas. I'm Mark Armstrong. A Beaumont family living in fear and wanting to move after they woke up to flames in their front yard. Surveillance video here showing the moment someone set fire to 2 vehicles early Sunday morning. Beaumont Fire Chief Earl White says this case now being investigated as an arson after investigators found a gas can left at the scene. We spoke to the homeowners who want to know who is responsible for this. Reporter Ebony Coleman has that story.
How would you feel if your family had moments to get out of their home with just the clothes on their back? If I was asleep, we wouldn't have woke up.
The emotions are still raw for Myrtle Mitchell after she opened her front door Sunday morning around 1:30 to find flames outside her home on Fundville Avenue in Beaumont.
They were so close and roaring from the top of my vehicle. I opened the door and I immediately saw my husband's truck, which is behind us also on fire.
She says luckily surveillance video caught most of the incident.
The vehicles, the young men, we don't even know them.
In the video, you can see someone running while holding an object that seems to be on fire. That object is then dropped in the street, and then an explosion. Beaumont Fire Chief Earl White says firefighters at the scene found a gas can.
With the presence of gasoline container there, that's another one of those indicators that it could possibly be a deliberately set fire.
He says samples are now being tested to find out exactly what flammable liquid was used. He says arson cases are not uncommon to see.
We do have individuals in our city that deliberately burn tangible property.
Meanwhile, Mitchell says while insurance will replace what was lost, she's hoping something will be done about the crime in her neighborhood.
I'm very grateful we're alive. To do something like this, I'm not gonna just lay down and take it. The petty theft in our neighborhood, the crime rate is just horrendous over here.
And Jefferson County commissioners want the state to cover the full cost of housing out-of-county juveniles in the Jefferson County Juvenile Detention Center. They've passed a resolution asking state lawmakers to make that happen. Officials say most of the cost has fallen on Jefferson County taxpayers. And County Judge Jeff Brannick telling us that the price of housing youth offenders at the Minnie Rogers Juvenile Justice Center has risen sharply. Now, the state's Juvenile Justice Department has closed several of its facilities over the last 2 decades. Judge Brannick says the closures have forced juveniles from other counties into the Jefferson County Center while they wait for a transfer to a state facility. Now, this has all contributed to a statewide backlog in the state juvenile system, according to Chief Juvenile Probation Officer Edward Cockrell.
They're here usually about 3 to 4 months after commitment, and the county is kind of having to pick up those costs.
Judge Brannick hopes the state will give them a full refund for the costs. Hardin-Jefferson High School senior rocket team, it is reaching for the stars, and as they gear up for a rocket launch. 12 News reporter Derek Jones has that story.
You asked me a couple years ago, I would have never considered aerospace in any field, and now it is completely what I want to do.
The Hardin-Jefferson High School rocket team is preparing for liftoff. It's something they are well prepared for. Hardin-Jefferson High School senior Kane Tanny says he's been learning about rockets since his freshman year.
Freshman year, we start out in our engineering class, so we're presented probably 8 to 10 projects throughout the year to help us get used to the engineering cycle. The next year is a transonic rocket, so we're trying to hit the sound barrier.
This year becoming a new problem for students to solve as they prepare to launch a 30-foot and 520-pound rocket 50,000 feet into the air. That's when the senior rocket program presented their launch plan and asked for First Security for sponsorship. CEO and chairman of First Security Bank, Clint Walters, was more than happy to help.
It's just very impressive what they do, and to think that some of these high school students are capable of putting together rockets and launching them and doing everything that they do. We just felt it was important to be a part of it.
But the work is far from over as they partner to build the rocket with Anahuac ISD.
We do a lot of work outside of the classroom, so we have to get in a lot of meetings with them to kind of go over what we're doing, and we also have to do a lot of physical work.
Still grateful to complete this mission once again.
Love to make my parents proud, and I like to do it for my teammates. I mean, every day it's a new struggle, a new hump that we need to get over, but the team and the community really helped me get going.
And those are the headlines here from Southeast Texas.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at yourmediainsurance.com.
I'm Isis Romero, and this is the news in San Antonio. An arrest has finally been made in a tragic case from back in November when a speeding car jumped a curb, killed a grandmother, and then crashed into her house. 28-year-old Anthony Gates is now facing charges. Sue Kalberg has an update.
Here's the problem at the corner of DeFost and DeFost. The road takes a 90-degree turn, but they say oftentimes the drivers just don't.
Came straight down this street. They were saying going maybe 50 or 60 miles an hour straight.
Jumped the curb.
Jumped the curb. Didn't hit his brakes. Didn't try to stop.
After waiting more than 2 months with no update, the family says there's been no action in the death of 67-year-old Janice Walker, who sat on this porch every day.
Oh yeah, every day. This was her spot every day.
Walker says he parks his truck in the yard every night to protect the house.
That's pretty rough, kind of hard to do.
He even dragged a traffic cone into the yard to encourage drivers to be safe and slow down.
How many people have to die? After it's death already. What more do they want?
We called the city for an update. Do you know if this is on the radar of your office? Back in November, the city sent a statement saying the 12-inch wall met Public Works construction standards. This afternoon, they said they've completed an evaluation and will be installing curve warning signs by early March. Meanwhile, Anthony Gates was caught in Victoria and charged with 3 additional misdemeanors. His bond on the death case has been set at $50,000. The charge is collision involving death, and the penalty range upon conviction is 2 to 20 years in prison with a $10,000 fine. The family says that's little consolation when all of this maybe could have been prevented. In East San Antonio, Sue Kalberg, KENS 5.
A man who escaped federal custody in San Antonio last week is still on the run, and U.S. Marshals want your help capturing him. Rania Kaur has details from authorities.
22-year-old Malachi Farias escaped from a residential reentry center last Thursday. He hasn't been seen since. Farias was convicted of conspiracy to transport illegal aliens back in 2024. He was serving a 30-month prison sentence, then supposed to serve a 3-year supervised release when he escaped. He failed to report for scheduled inmate counts last week, which is when authorities realized he had escaped. He was last seen at 6:25 on January 15th and had a visitor earlier that evening. The marshal's office says he last lived on the north central side of San Antonio. He's 5'5", with brown eyes and black hair, and has several prominent face tattoos. If you know where he is or have any information that can help lead to an arrest, you're asked to contact the U.S. Marshals Lone Star Fugitive Task Force. That information on our website right now on KENS5.com. Rania Kaur, KENS 5.
2 families have closure after the murder of a young couple. Cristian Bermudez pleaded guilty to shooting and killing 2 people more than 3 years ago in a Northeast Side motel. Earl Stoudemire was in the courtroom for the sentencing and spoke with families.
The feeling was heavy in the courtroom as Cristian Bermudez was sentenced to 40 years in prison in the murders of Sanaya McNeil and Gabriel Sanchez.
ECR 7342, Christian Ray Bermudez.
Both families wrote a victim impact statement to Bermudez, still recovering from a wound they say will never heal.
I wish they had been given the chance to fulfill their goals. All their hopes and dreams were shattered when Christian took their lives. A piece of me is gone forever.
Sanchez's mother, Jassidi, said she walked into a nightmare having to identify Gabe and his girlfriend, Sanaya, shot dead at the Northeast Side Motel on January 17th of 2023.
And I think they made it a little lenient on him, but I'm just ready to put this at peace already. I'm ready to put it away, go forward in life.
It's not really enough. I think he took the easy way out. He's a loser.
Sanchez said Gabe and Bermudez were friends. Sanchez was trying to help Gabe and Sanaya move into a home together when they were killed. With lives taken too soon, the families keep Sanaya and Gabe's names alive.
I would just want to hug him tight and tell him I love him and that I miss him.
We love her, and we know that she's watching over us.
Bermudez will have to serve 90% of his 40-year sentence before he's eligible for parole. At the Bexar County Justice Center, Earl Stoudemire, KENS 5.
A special proclamation honoring icons of Tejano and Norteño music. On Tuesday, the Bexar County Clerk, along with Commissioner's Court, recognized several artists who have shaped the sound of South Texas and beyond. The proclamation celebrates the artists' lasting contributions to culture and music. Among those recognized is San Antonio's own Jay Perez. In a rare interview, he talked to our Henry Ramos about the recognition and his decades in music.
This picture right here, I was 10 years old. That's me right there.
That's you?
Yes, me sitting down right there.
Look at the locks.
Yep, 10 years old, from the west side of Tejano homes.
His instrument is his voice. And since he was a young boy, he has been belting it out.
Always singing. It started at home, and look where I'm at now, man. You know, I'm very successful and very grateful and humble.
His nickname La Voz, or The Voice, Jay Bettis, is a staple in the Tejano music industry. All these awards tell the story of a distinguished career for one of San Antonio's own.
It's been a great journey, man, and I'm not trying to speak in past tense. I still have some time left.
The stage is Bettis' second home. He has been jamming out for over 40 years.
It's a gratifying feeling, man. It's something that you can't put into words. When you're standing on stage and they're singing all the songs, you know, right along with you.
Bettis credits his mom, family, and fans for his success. Even growing up in public housing on the west side, he remains proud of where he comes from. He even got emotional talking about it.
But I can't forget where I came from, because it's those same roots where I stood strong as a little boy. To this day, I'm still here.
On Tuesday, Bettis, along with several other artists like Stephanie Montiel, Shelly Lattis, Gary Hobbs, Little Joe, they were all honored by Bexar County. For Bettis, this recognition is extra special because this is home.
And to be recognized like this and have the support and the love from the fans and especially my family, it means everything. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Henry Ramos, KENS 5.
You can catch more of Henry's conversation with Jay Bettis streaming right now on KENS 5 Plus. And that's the news in San Antonio.
I'm Leslie Adamy in Corpus Christi, and here's a look at some of what's happening in South Texas. Back in 2021, the Garcia family in Portland experienced a true nightmare as their then 7-year-old daughter, Emerald, went missing. Well, this week, after a near 5-year search involving local, state, and federal authorities, Portland PD announced that Emerald, now 12 years old, has safely returned home. Orion Hopper was there for the emotional reunion.
A mother and daughter reunited after nearly 5 agonizing years. In April 2021, Emerald was taken from her native Portland home and smuggled into Mexico, but that didn't deter local, state, and federal authorities.
This is the best of results that we can reach in these cases. We all know that doesn't always happen. I'm extremely proud of the Portland Police Department, of Joe Temez and his team, who never gave up. It took a lot of paperwork, both from his agency and from my office with the Justice Department, to pursue and keep pressing and keep hope alive for the rescue of this child.
The alleged kidnapper, none other than her own father, Neftali Garcia, who authorities say was actually granted primary custody of Emerald before the kidnapping. Lieutenant Joe Temez was Portland PD's lead investigator in the case, which he says was probably the craziest of his career. So when federal authorities informed him they'd captured the father in Mexico, he knew all the work that he and his team put in over the years was well worth it.
Talking with them over the phone for the past 4 years was a regular thing till finally I got news. I got that one phone call, and it was a good day. It was a great day that they had recovered the child.
Dr. Wendy Pollack, a professor of criminal justice at Texas A&M Corpus Christi, says that after an immense trauma like this, the readjustment period for both Emerald and her mother could be long and difficult.
The custodial parent understands and knows that they were looking for the child, that the child was loved, and all these other kinds of things may not be the story that the victim child was told during the time they were in the other parent's custody.
A long and happy awaited reunion there, Ryan. Thank you for that report. Well, fans of the hit TV series Landman may be a little bummed that the season finale has now come and gone. Now, don't worry, there are no spoilers here, but you may remember it was a few episodes ago where one of the characters, Ariana, name-dropped Corpus Christi. It's where her father in the show lives. A minor mention, sure, but exciting nonetheless for us. But just like her character, actress Paulina Chavez does share a real fondness for Corpus Christi. I got the chance to speak with Paulina where we talked about how surreal it is for the 23-year-old to work with greats like Billy Bob Thornton, Demi Moore, Ali Larter. Born in El Paso, but having grown up in San Antonio, Paulina shared she and her family would often make weekend trips to right here in the Coastal Bend.
I used to do like weekend trips to Corpus so much with some family friends and always visiting the Salina Museum and her statue. I mean, I have so many fond memories of going to the beach over there. We would go and then we would just be like, let's just spend the night, and just that would be so fun if next season we can actually go and shoot. It's surreal. I'm still pinching myself. I think the most beautiful thing about working with these legends is just seeing how down to earth they are, and you see exactly why they've been in this industry for so long is because how grounded they are. I've mostly worked with Billy Bob, but he is just such an inspiration and someone to look up to.
Of this interview, Paulina was headed off to her next role, which she couldn't share just yet, so stay tuned for that. Landman, though, has been renewed for a third season. And that's a quick look at some of what's happening here in South Texas.
Texas News Now is sponsored by Germania Insurance.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at germaniainsurance.com.